Welcome to my tips and tricks session. I'm going to be going over my presentation that I did at the launch in Cape Town of SOLIDWORKS 2017. This was part of a 1-hour breakout session that I did. The session was called I Didn't Know Drawings Could Do. I'm going to be breaking this into 2 or 3 parts so that we can cover everything. The first topic that I'm going to be speaking on is locking the view focus. I got quite a good feedback from the users during the session, and hopefully I can share some of the tips by using lock view focus. The next subject that I'm going to cover is performance, general drawing performance, how to increase the speed of working inside of SOLIDWORKS drawings, switching between assemblies, and opening up drawings in large assembly mode, detached drawings, and some of the auto view updates. Really nice tricks in here to help you with your performance. And then the last thing that I'm going to be covering is auxiliary view and relative view. Locking the view focus. Sometimes you need to have views nested right on top of each other because your sheet is small and your views are large, and you have these focus locking borders that appear over your drawing view. Now, if I go to this explode view over here, you can see that it actually expands into the other views and over them. So if I'm working in one of these views, it's a bit confusing where the sketch entity is actually placed. So let's go, for example, and do a detailed view on this top view. So which view am I working in? So here's a trick. Click inside the view, right click, and say lock view focus. So any sketch entities that I create now will only be created in that view. So now I'm able to go to my sketch, go and draw my rectangle, and do my detail view. And that view is locked, that sketch is locked to the view. To unlock it, it's automatic. As soon as you create a view like that, the view will be unlocked and you can carry on. How do you see if it's unlocked or locked? Notice that there's clean dotted edges on the side of the view focus. If you double click inside of a view, it actually puts a darker frame around it, locking the view. Instead of doing the right click, you can double click. A very nice little trick to use as well. So if that view focus there is locked, I'm able to go into my sketch tool and work as if I did the right click. Same idea. Unlocking it, double click, and there we go. So let's look at that again. Double click the view. If I place an annotation or note onto that face, because I've locked that view, wherever I move the view, that note will follow. Okay. Very nice little trick to use. In the next section, I'm going to be covering my image quality, interference, large assembly mode, detached drawings, and auto view update. We've had support calls from people in the past where we have strange graphics anomalies like this, and users think that there's problems with the drivers or problem with SOLIDWORKS, but actually it turns out to be something quite interesting. If you notice strange lines that disappear, 99% of the time the culprit is caused by interference in the model. So what we're going to do is run a quick interference detection on these two components, and you will actually see that they're interfering with each other. There we go. So if I go to the components, and I just repair that interference and go back to my drawing, you'll notice that all the lines are back. So you can see on the top right hand of the screen, that culprit is also interference detected. So just have a look for things like that if you do pick up strange image quality issues. While I'm here, let's go straight into the Options tab and have a look at the System Options, Drawings, Performance. There's a nice little setting on the top here that says Show Contents while dragging the view. If you've got very complex drawings and you'd like to improve the performance of dragging it, just unselect that. So when you're in a massive drawing and you move the drawing around, it only generates the drawing once you let go of your mouse. So SOLIDWORKS is not trying to regenerate that image as you're dragging it along, being live. This is just a quick way to manipulate drawing views around the screen. You find that under your drawings, performance, and show contents while dragging view. Allow auto update when opening drawings is another option that we're going to look at just now. But what that allows you to do is that if you select that on, whenever you open the drawing, it's going to look at the update, it's going to check the file and do an automatic update of it. This can be turned off so that you can control the updating of your view manually, actually, which is very great if you want to switch between your assembly and your drawings and have more control over when SOLIDWORKS decides to rebuild and update your views. Another culprit we found under the drawings is performance and image quality. So if we go to image quality, 9 times out of 10, it's perfectly fine to have your shaded and draft quality, hidden lines removed and hidden lines visible resolution in the middle. And the same thing with your wireframe. Keeping it in the middle is always ideal. You don't need to push this right to the max. By creating a smoother edge, you're not really getting that much result out of it, but what it does is causing your file size to increase, and your graphics performance is slow because SOLIDWORKS are trying to make those round edges rounder. Really not going to make your world that different, so I will always keep it in the middle. And if you have 2,000 or 3,000 components that are in the red, you are going to have a really big, really slow assembly. So that's a little tip for making your file sizes smaller and having your graphics clear. When opening a large assembly, it's going to filter just my drawing views over here. SOLIDWORKS allows you to open up a drawing view in large assembly mode. So if I take that and open it, as I would in normal SOLIDWORKS with 3D files, the large assembly mode allows me to open up large file sets faster, even in a drawing environment. So if I go and look at the drawing, settings, look at the settings, and I go to assemblies. On large assembly mode, I can choose to automatically be by default on certain component sizes. And when the large assembly mode is active, it doesn't save my auto recover info. It automatically hides all planes and sketches and curves. It doesn't show edges in the shaded mode, and it doesn't rebuild when I switch the assembly windows. It also doesn't show me the feature tree. So if I go to my view and I go to my assemblies, there's no features. It just registers the part with a feather on it. Okay. My model has some errors in it. It's there because I'm making some changes in my design, and I want to show you the feature of turning on and off the automatic rebuilding. So how you do that is by right-clicking on the top of the model, and you unselect automatic view update. By doing that, it allows me to go and open and switch between my assembly and my drawing without automatically switching between them every time. So there, I've unsuppressed that very big tool holder. And when I go back to my drawing view, all of the views that have been updated, because that tool holder appears in all of them, it doesn't update it by default. It just gives me a hatching over my view that's incorrect. And as soon as I do Control Q for a complete rebuild, SOLIDWORKS will then go and rebuild on my recommendation, and then everything updates and repairs itself. So, SOLIDWORKS gives you the power to control when to do that and when not to do that. I'm going to be covering detached drawings in this session on its own. I believe this is a very powerful functionality in SOLIDWORKS that not many people use or even know exists. Detached drawings allows me to take a normal SOLIDWORKS drawing, keeping it in the same file format, and breaking the link between the assembly and the drawing temporarily. Let me show you how this works. If I look at this toolbox drawing, when I open up the file, it does two things. The first thing it does is load the drawing that I see in front of me, and the second thing it does is load all of the components into RAM. While this is great because I can switch between the drawing and assembly and get updates like I've done now, if I have very large complex drawings, this can take a very long time. Especially if I want to do minor viewings or drawing updates or detailings, I do not need the entire 3D model to be loaded. How do I break that link and send this drawing to another SOLIDWORKS user to continue detailing without having to take the entire assembly with them? This is how you do it. If I go and open the assembly, it's immediate because it's loaded in RAM and the link is maintained. breaking that, go File, Save As, and I go and create, underneath Drawings, I can select the Detached Drawing option. I'm just going to override this drawing here. We have already created a name called Toolvise Detached. The file format is exactly the same. As you've noticed, between the drawing and the detached drawing, there's only a bit of background information, that the background tools that in the background, just sever that. I'm going to replace it. Save everything. And I'm going to close it down again. Notice the speed difference between the two now. If I go and open up my detached drawing, it's immediate, and I'm able to open up this drawing. Now I'm able to actually send you this drawing file without the SOLIDWORKS assembly, and you will notice that the files are not loaded. They've actually got a bit of a broken, they're actually broken, you can see. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go open up the Toolvise now, and I'm going to make a change to it. So I'm going to make an edit. Now let's pretend I've got the drawing view that I want to update. When I open up the detached drawing, it tells me that the sheet contains drawing views which are out of date with the external model. So even though I've severed the link between them, there's still a connection between the assembly and the drawing, and it's telling me that there's an update to it. That's the only time I'm really going to see that there's a change to it. And even if I rebuild the model, it will immediately go and reconnect that, and the model changes to a small one. If I save it and close it, it will still remain a detached drawing, and it will not update automatically until I do a Control Q or a rebuild. If I want to make this into a normal drawing again, it's pretty simple. All I do is I go and say File, Save As, and I go and change this to a drawing format, and I click on Save, and it converts that back to a normal drawing again. And this will update live. It's a very, very handy tool, and it's something that you guys should go and play around with and use if you have large drawings that you would like to detach and dimension or work on separately. Alright, let's look at file references. SOLIDWORKS has the ability inside of the drawing view to right click and replace model. So maybe there's a Rev B of this part that's a separate drawing file that I want to replace. Same model, but just different name and a different size. So I can actually go and browse for this, maybe Rev B, and say OK. So it replaces all the views, and I have that. But sometimes you get these dangling dimensions, and you got to try and reconnect them. It doesn't always work. So I want to show you another workaround for this and a more manual way of doing it. So if I go and look at the drawing before double clicking and say OK, there's a button at the bottom of here that says References. When I do that, it actually shows me the reference part that's used in the drawing. So if I want to change that from Rev 1 to Rev 2, I double click in there, choose Rev 2, and you'll see in green now it's pointing to the new Rev B part file. So when I say OK and open, instead of referencing the original part, it's going to use the second one. And there we go, it updates all the drawing views and the dimensions. So very nice little trick to use if you want to replace a reference of a part or even an assembly. Some people don't know that you have the ability to open up a drawing file, a normal SOLIDWORKS drawing file inside of eDrawings. So say your manager would like to comment on a drawing and you have a ePDM or a SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional or even just normal Windows. You can actually open up your file, your drawing file, anyone really. Let's open up the cylinder. It's a normal SOLIDWORKS drawing file, and I can make a markup or comment on it. So let's go and add a label with a note. So here's the manager pointing out the strange graphics anomaly. You can actually go in and insert images, you can add shapes, you can write more text, and you can go and save it as a markup file as well. You can have different people reviewing the files, and you can save those markup files out if you'd like to do that as well. And it actually just saves the markup file and not the eDrawings file. So if I go and say File, Save now, that markup is actually stored within that cylinder SLD drawing file. And if I close this and open up that cylinder drawing now, you'll notice that it actually comes up with a note. So you don't need to print out the drawing, send it to your manager, let him sign it. This can all be done inside of electronic eDrawings. This is a fantastic tool. And if I go here to the eDrawings markup over there, you can actually see the comment that Quentin made. I can go and hide and show and delete that as well if I want to. Okay, if I go and insert markup, I can actually insert that markup manually as well if I want to. Okay, it's a drawing, it's a function inside of SOLIDWORKS that allows you to not bring the eDrawings file, but have a separate markup file. So it's another way of doing it. It's a very handy little trick. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you got something useful out of these sessions. Okay, on to the final session of my tips and tricks on drawings. I'm going to be covering auxiliary views and relative views. So here's a great example of trying to get a position of the whole normal to the screen, and I'm going to give you a little tip on how to do that. The second tip that I'm going to show you is the relative view. So here's an example of a model with a boss on the side. How do I look at that boss straight onto the normal of my screen so that I can dimension it? I'm going to be using a relative view to show you how to do that. And this is a nice little trick on alternate sheet metal views, where I have a bent up sheet metal component and I would like to see it in a ghosted flattened out stage. There's a little trick for doing that. And then I'm going to be starting off with, or ending off with the reference replacing, showing you how to replace the references when opening a drawing. And comments in eDrawings, a really nice little tool for that as well. Alright, there are my two drawings. Here's the view I was discussing with you earlier. Looking at a model with a hole on it. Sometimes you can't see, or would like to see something a bit different. Like the hole, I can't see it, so I want to show you in this model. Here's a little trick. If you click in the drawing view in 2D, there's a button over here that allows you to take a 3D drawing view and rotate it. So I'm able to see the entire 3D model. Because like all the SOLIDWORKS drawings, those are actually 3D embedded on the 2D drawing. So how did I create this view? If I want to create geometry in here, I'm going to select the model and I need to draw a line, which I'm going to use as my reference. So if I delete the line, I'm going to go and turn on temporary axes. And what that does is put a temporary axis through the hole. And then I can create a line tool. And what I'm going to do is take that temporary axis, take the line, and make it perpendicular to each other. So that that line is perpendicular to the temporary axis. Now I've got a starting point. From here, I can do my auxiliary view, using the line as my auxiliary view. The SOLIDWORKS will allow me to take the line as a sketch instead of an edge, and there we go. Very quickly I'm able to get a view out that I can dimension and use. Right. Relative view. How did I create this view in SOLIDWORKS? Let me delete this. Take this model and show you the relative view. So relative view is on your icon. If you can't find it there, just go to your commands under the search and type in relative view, and all you need to do is take that and drag it onto your model, and you'll be able to control where your icons are. If you want to move it around, hold the Alt key on your keyboard and you can actually reshuffle your command manager or drag it out into the screen and it will remove it. Very nice little trick. So, relative view, select the model that you'd like to create the relative view for. And then you just choose your view orientation. So I'm going to say the front view, I want that face. And then for the top view, I'm going to use the top of the model. Once I've done that, I say OK. And there we go. SOLIDWORKS uses that face as the front and the top as the top. And very quickly, I'm able to get a view in. So how did I create those alternate views of the sheet metal part in the drawings earlier? A normal SOLIDWORKS sheet metal part. So the normal flattened state, everything as per normal. However, in drawings and assemblies, I've got this alternate position view tool, which I can't use on parts. So in order for me to use that alternate position tool, I need to make an assembly of my part. So that's the crux of this trick. So I'm going to take an assembly, use my part, and of course you know that SOLIDWORKS sheet metal parts, when you create a flat pattern of that or a flat pattern drawing, it actually creates a derived configuration of it. So if I go here, you'll actually see the configuration can switch between a normal and flat pattern. So I'm going to go and create a new configuration. Add configuration. I'm going to call this one flat. And I'm going to go and switch to the flattened configuration. So if I go into my assembly, I go there, it's default, and there it's flat. So I'm going to save it and make my drawing. Let's take this front view first. So alternate position view. I'm going to use an existing configuration because that's what I created earlier. So this is my flattened state. So if I go OK now, SOLIDWORKS will actually just flatten out the configuration for me, and I can see the flattened state of the sheet metal part. And then I can use nice tools like the drawing dimension just to give me the total length of that. Or if I want to do that over here, click on the 3D view, say alternate view position, and I can just say use the flat configuration. How did I get that view shaded? What you do is you go to the view, select the alternate view position under the drawing view, and then I go to my view palette and select the solid state. You'll see the flattened state turn solid. Then if I click in my view and turn the entire view into solid, I can superimpose the flattened state of the solid as well as the folded state of the sheet metal. Nice little trick to use when showing both states.